Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Riesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Josh Dillingham, Senior Account Executive at A Best Place to Work, former college basketball player, and podcast host. He spends his time trying to inspire and impact others by constantly improving himself and not being defined by a title. Please enjoy Josh Dillingham. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today, I am here with Josh Dillingham. Super excited. He's got a pretty awesome story, which I'm hopeful that he will share with us. But welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Mari. I appreciate you having me. Appreciate you reaching out. Always love podcasting, especially on a Saturday morning. And creativity in 2020 is probably the theme. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and chat about it.
Awesome. Well, creativity is the thing in 2020. I agree 100%. Well, why don't you take just a couple of minutes and let our listeners know a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Totally. So I guess I can start from the beginning. I kind of grew up about 40 minutes outside of Chicago, a small town called Bolingbrook, Illinois. And actually, you and me chatting before the podcast, you said that you were a performer. Mm-hmm. Music was actually my first love. So I started off playing the piano. I was actually in marching band, and I remember being in parades in my hometown, playing at football games. But at the same time, I was also an athlete. So I was playing basketball. And then my love kind of transferred to basketball. And that's kind of what brought me actually to downtown Chicago, where I'm at today. So played basketball in college, loved it. Wanted to eventually play pro somewhere overseas, maybe in Europe, but ended up just staying at home, kind of wanted to stay around family, stay in Chicago. So got into a career of sales, and sales was great. And I'm still in sales today. Actually, a senior software consultant helping attorneys, be more profitable, be more organized. But I just knew that I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to expand myself. And so ended up coming out with a podcast, and we might touch on it, we might not, but came out with the podcast. We actually launched it in February, me and one of my mentors of mine, Mason. He's my co-host as well. And then outside of that, very entrepreneurial, always looking to grow, network, and also, come on other people's podcasts. So that's where I'm at today. And I'm just pumped to be here. I'm feeling blessed.
I love it. I love the journey and the being a musician and an athlete and the dreams and how dreams change. And I too have, as a younger person, lots of dreams, big Broadway dreams, and then discovered that I wanted to do something a little bit different. And that's when I kind of took a left turn and got into the mental health field and dance movement therapy. So still creative and that experience, but it sounds like even with the kind of pivot from being an athlete, you're still engaged with kind of that team effort and team support component.
100%. And I had a little bit of an identity crisis leaving that, because I was so focused on becoming a pro athlete. Growing up, that was the that was kind of like the God. That's the goal. Everybody who I was around, the goal is to be a pro athlete. And so when that didn't happen, I was like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And so what I realized is that I've been developing skills, mindset, assets that I could still use. It just may not be in that basketball or that athletic arena. Mm-hmm. And then my end goal of where I wanted to end up in life and who I wanted to become and what I wanted to be known for, inspiring people and impacting people, I could still do that without being in sports. So I still feel amazing now that I can still have that end goal. It's just a different journey while still using those same skills and assets that I did before. So that's kind of how I transitioned, and it's been great so far.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. What a creative mindset you've taken, like learning all the skills and tools as an athlete and being able to pivot and transition and utilize them in a different career path. I mean, that takes a lot of creativity, a lot of innovation, and I love it. I think
Totally.
it's amazing.
And to be honest with you, I could see it in you as well as a performer. The energy that you bring to a podcast is a lot better than most people bring to a podcast. My first podcast episodes, I was a little nervous. I'm nervous. I don't really know how to perform. As a performer, you're used to being nervous in performing and
That is
having
true.
energy and showing emotion. And so you did that very well off the bat as I listened to your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Which I'll shout out your podcast on your own podcast, telling you that you are doing great. And I can see the performer in you as a podcaster.
Oh,
So
thank you.
when we go through life, I think a lot of times if the first option doesn't work out, you can still use that same kind of tools, that same mindset that you had before, and use it to your advantage in the next endeavor. So
Absolutely. And I think that's a great tip for people who are perhaps having their own identity crisis or, needing to change careers. We are in a pandemic. Some careers no longer exist.
Yeah.
And how are people, pivoting or creatively engaging in a job again? But I feel like we could completely digress from creativity. So I'm going to pull us back. But
pull us back.
when you, I feel like you have so much to say about creativity. So what does it mean to you to be creative?
To be original and authentically you. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't change, you shouldn't improve, you shouldn't grow. At one point, I was a shy kid and kind of has grown to be a little bit more social. But I was thinking about this quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, right? He said, in a world where everything is constantly trying to make you something else, being yourself is the greatest accomplishment. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And so today we are so influenced by social media, by the news, by our friends, our family, that we don't really understand what we want in life. Who do we want to be? Who do we want to become? And so a lot of times we go through our days chasing other people's dreams, other people's goals, instead of really finding out what do we want and where do we want to go in life. And so being creative is kind of just being you and standing on that principle of I want to do what I want to do in my life and trying to figure that out. Because I think a lot of times we just follow others and not really being uniquely us.
I love that. And what a great reminder that you, exactly who you are, is enough, is important. Your voice matters. Who you are is an amazing gift. And how do you get to share that with other people, or even share it with yourself? Get to know yourself a little bit more. So I love that idea of being uniquely you is part of what it means to be creative and not following the pack or being overly influenced by other people that we see around the globe doing things that we want to do. And so I think that's fantastic.
Yes. And I felt that in my life as a basketball player, as somebody who just, like I said before, I just saw other people doing this. And so I followed that direction and didn't really have a reason why I did it. And so I think being creative is just standing on, where do you want to go? Where do you want to be in life, instead of following the follower? Because a lot of people don't understand why they're doing what they're doing and you're following them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, so important to be able to have that reflection on why am I doing what I'm doing, or an awareness of, oh, I'm catching myself doing the following the follower.
Yes.
And say, oh, wait a minute. Is that really where I want to be? Is that really what I want to do? Or what if I check in with myself and get a little more information? Maybe what I actually want to do is a little bit different.
100%.
Nice.
Now, here's the challenge, right?
Yes, tell me. What's the challenge?
Here's the challenge is other people's opinions, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thoughts of others, what are they going to say if I diverge from the normal?
Yeah.
And I'm not following the tribe anymore, and I want to do my own thing, right?
Yeah.
You're crazy. You want to have a podcast? What?
Right.
You're crazy. Why?
The doubt, the questions. Yeah.
Yes.
And that can be really hard to come up against and feel like you have enough strength within yourself to say, you can doubt all you want. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to succeed. And whether you believe in me or not, I believe enough in myself to follow this.
100%. And it can be scary, right?
Oh my gosh, totally.
When I started podcasting, it was scary. Wait, so what I had to do, instead of focusing on what the doubters are going to say, right? And I tried the approach of, I'm just going to do it anyway. It was tough for me. So what I had to do is take a whole new perspective and just start to focus on, instead of the hate and the doubt, start to focus on the positive and the supporters.
Absolutely. I love it.
How can I just help them? Don't think about the hate, blind that off, shut that side down, and just focus on the positive message that you can give to other people. It becomes a lot easier to just be uniquely you. So
I love it. It's amazing. And it leads me right into my next question about challenges and blocks that we experience in our life and how you navigate them with creativity or, you just shared a few, but I'm wondering if there are other things in your life that you've come up against and how you've used creativity to navigate them.
Yes. Obviously, we get influenced every day by friends, by family. Like I said before, social media, you're going down the Instagram feed and you see something and you're like, oh, wow, I like that. But you didn't like it before. It doesn't have anything to do with where you want to go. It's just like, so I have to edit my life, right? I have to edit it. What are my values, right? Fitness, fun, family, finances, faith, whatever that is for you. How can I edit my life in a way where it's going to take me where I want to go? Right. So once I've found out why am I doing what I'm doing and where do I want to be? Who do I want to become? I can edit my life to take me towards that direction.
Nice.
Life starts to make a lot more sense and it becomes a lot more simple when you find out that why, then you edit your life in that direction.
Yeah.
And so
that why is such a good question and so hard to answer.
Oh, it's so tough. It's so tough. It's so tough. And what I found is that your why comes from a past pain of some sort, right? Usually that it comes from something that you struggle with as a kid, growing up, whatever the case may be. And it's emotional to you. And so you have to figure it out. And it's only you that can figure it out. I couldn't help you. Mari couldn't help you.
Right.
It's you, right? So maybe we can ask you questions, but it's ultimately on you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. As in the mental health field, as a therapist, I don't know the answers to your life. You are the expert on your life. I have skills and tools I can teach you and help you, figure things out. But ultimately, you are the expert in your life. And that is such a powerful thing for people to recognize and experience. So thanks for that reminder.
I'm here to remind everybody.
It's perfect. It's amazing. I mean, you seem like someone who is so inspired by small things, big things. I'm curious what or who inspires you these days?
Everything, like you said, small, big, literally everything. When I see people of any endeavor, when I see and I feel them being uniquely them, when I feel like they're whatever it is, a musician, an athlete, a podcaster, I feel like they're just being themselves and they're just kind of doing things differently. That inspires me because I admire that courage, that boldness to actually do it. I know you say often, everybody is creative.
Yes.
Which they are. I agree. Are they bold enough and courageous enough to actually express it?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Great question.
So expressing it, when I see people express that creativity that they have, everybody has genius level creativity and they need to express it. When I see the people express it, that's what makes me get going. I get so excited. Another thing that inspires me is when I see people succeed, when I see an ordinary person have success. And I ask myself, well, why can't I do that? Right?
Yeah, I get it.
I'm sure you listened to plenty of podcasts before I actually started one.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
hey, why can't I do that? I can do this, right? And so when we see people succeed, they didn't do anything different. They're no better. They're no, more capable than we are. They just made a decision. They just expressed that creativity. They were bold enough. They just took small steps getting there. And eventually they just became who they are today. So that inspires me. Success. And then when I see people be courageous and bold.
I love it. That's awesome. I know. Hearing you talk, I'm like, yeah, I'm inspired by that too. Totally. When people succeed or they take a risk and it works out and they are uniquely themselves and they're putting themselves out to the world in a bigger way or showing up in their own life, not necessarily on social media, but just in their own life in a bigger way. I think that is incredibly inspiring. And I really like hearing that and being, like I said, reminded of things that are inspiring to me as well.
100%. And I still struggle with that though. To be honest with you, that is why it inspires me so much because I still struggle with it. Right?
Yeah.
I still struggle with it. I've expressed, but I haven't expressed everything that I want to.
Got it. Yeah. And that makes sense. And, Henri Matisse, the artist, has a quote, "Creativity takes courage." And I often think of that when I find myself butting my head up against fear or a challenge or a block or doubt and saying like, no, it's taking a lot of courage for me to get here and to put this out into the world or show up in this way. And that sometimes is the push, that little reminder of like, oh wait, no, this is important. And even though it's hard and challenging, I'm going to learn something from it. I get to grow. Even if it fails, I'm still going to learn. And the next one will be different or have that much more information to go from. So
100%.
I can appreciate that as well, the challenge. And yeah. And you mentioned being as a child, growing up, playing the marching band and parades. Yes. When you think about, being a kid, what is your earliest memory of being creative?
Definitely the music side.
Yeah.
Definitely the music side. Because like I said, where I grew up, sports was the end all be all. Right? So I got kind of made fun of, kind of laughed at as being in a marching band, but also being a basketball player, doing both of those. Right? So it was this creativity factor of, if I was to look back at myself now, I'd be like, dude, that is such an amazing combo. Like, continue to do that. Like, do that. That is amazing. But man, I felt so lost in a way. Like, I actually enjoy music a lot. I love it, right? But I also love playing basketball. But my basketball friends made me feel a little bit like, oh, you're in a band? Why? That's like,
yeah.
Right?
Kids will do that.
Yes, they will do that, right? And then, but on the marching band side, they were like, man, that's amazing that you're a basketball player and you still feel, comfortable with yourself enough to come be in the band with us. And it made them feel amazing. So that goes back to focusing on your supporters, right? I made them feel amazing about being able to be around an athlete per se.
Right.
And make them feel great about themselves, right? So when it comes to your creativity, can you express it so that you can inspire the people that support you, as opposed to worrying about the naysayers and the people that laugh at you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. I went to a high school that we had, successful sports teams, but we also had an incredible music program, theater and choir. And so I would say a large portion of the athletes were also in all of the theater productions, which is very unique and different.
It is,
and,
for sure.
So that I can appreciate kind of a more stereotypical high school experience where there is some friction between athletes and the performing arts. And yet that wasn't my experience, which I think is incredibly unique. But I like hearing other people's experiences about high school and how they navigated both sides of it, because I think that's the version that more people are familiar with and makes more sense. It's what we see in movies and on TV too, the stereotypical
It was just like
experience.
that. It was just like that. It was just like that. And so sometimes it still it can still affect me to this day. This being in psychology, right?
Yep.
It can still affect my expression of creativity today. Right?
Absolutely. Those voices are loud. I mean, even from decades ago or years ago, those naysayers or the doubters, sometimes we hang on to those voices. Those voices are louder. We pay more attention to them. We give them more, quote unquote, airtime in our mind than the positive voices. And it's really hard to kind of, in the skill of like turning your mind to the positive pieces, not ignoring the more negative voices, but, not taking them to heart.
Yeah. And I try to tell myself, like, remember that's a 14-year-old boy that said that to you.
Yes.
Like, remember that. Remember, like, that was a 14-year-old boy or a 16-year-old boy that said that to you. Like, they didn't know any better. Like, if a 16-year-old said the same thing to you today, you would kind of roll off your back, right?
Right.
So I try to remind myself, if I do hear those voices or have those memories, like, hey, that was as an 11-year-old boy, right?
Yeah, give yourself some perspective of like, wait a minute, let's look at those facts. This is the 14-year-old self versus where I am today. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think it's so important to do that personal growth work and be able to have that awareness when we do get in those moments of doubt or frustration or challenge, to remind ourselves, okay, let's check our facts. Here we go.
100%.
See what's going on. It sounds like you have a really robust community where you are, and also just, it sounds like throughout your life with music and sports and family. And I'm curious, when you think about your community, maybe historical community and current community, how do you think your community impacts or influences your creativity?
Yeah. Matter of fact, they influence the podcast. Right? Mason, who is my mentor today, he's a very mentor to me. He was a former athlete as well.
Okay.
He's actually from Milwaukee, so about 2 hours away from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
He was coming into Chicago for a keynote. I sent him a text. Hey, you mind spending some time before your speech? Before you speak, we can chat. We'd love to chat and catch up with you. And he kind of put that seed in me to start the podcast. Right.
Nice.
So that community of, hey, do this. And I was like, no, I don't know. That doubt. He said, hey, I'll do it with you. I'll do it with you. Right.
Nice.
That was July 2019.
Uh-huh.
We ended up launching February 2020. And so this idea of somebody just planting a seed, believing in you while you don't believe in yourself, and giving you that slight push. And you realize you're a lot more creative and a lot more capable than you actually thought you were. So you just need another perspective of somebody like believing in you a little bit more sometimes, and telling you like, hey, let's try this. I believe you can do it. Right.
Yeah.
And doing it.
I love it. Nice. Yeah. It's amazing how our communities can nudge us enough to try something new or step outside of our comfort zone and support us to do that. I think that is kind of what you're talking about, having that support from your community to say, no, you got this. And I'm going to be there with you while you got it. Yes.
Yes. And now, it's like, hey, I feel amazing now. Now, can I do that for somebody else? Right?
Yeah.
Can I pay that feeling forward to help somebody else grow? And Mason, he continues to push me, him and other mentors that I have in my life and other people that I have in my life to continue to say, hey, you're a lot more capable than what you're giving right now. What can you do more of? And so I think that's super important to have in your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Having mentors that have walked the path before us, who can kind of see where we are and give us those extra pieces or inspiration or belief in us when we doubt ourselves and our own ability, and say, no, you got this. Again, like I see it for you.
Right.
I'll see it until you see it.
100%. That's exactly what it is. And we need more. We need more. But like I said, can I do it for others? And that's where that's where you take it to another level. That's when the community, you still develop a community. It's just a different role within the community.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. Benefiting from the community and then giving back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
Yes.
Huge component. So I love it. Well, I imagine in your everyday life, you experience, things that don't go so well. And when you think about everyday issues that you have to navigate, how have you used creativity to solve these issues?
Yeah, when I'm facing some type of fear, when I'm tired, just in an unresourceful state.
Yeah.
Because that's the everyday. Typically, some type of unresourceful state, you're not going to feel great every single day, right?
100%.
The different creativity of how can I at least get through it? How can I kind of hype myself up, get me out of that, right? Mm-hmm. And so usually, music, dancing, right? Walking around, doing push-ups and different things like that. How can I not just give into, I'm tired. Mm-hmm. I'm nervous. I'm scared. Can I shake it off? Can I dance it off? Right. Usually before a podcast or something like that, especially in the beginning, man, I would dance and I would like scream to the top of my lungs songs. And
I love
it. Different creative ways to find how can I still operate in that unresourceful state. And so I try new things every day.
Oh,
and I encourage everybody to do that.
It's amazing.
Right?
Yes. Absolutely. What's a favorite song these days that you shake it out to?
Michael Jackson. Oh my
Ooh,
gosh.
yes.
And I can put him on shuffle on Spotify, and I can just I haven't heard a bad Michael Jackson song, which is crazy, right? But I could just turn something, something that makes me feel good. Where am I at emotionally? Can I play something that's gonna take me to the place where I need to be, right?
I love it. Yes.
And so I don't know. I try to do whatever I can to kind of get me out of that. And some days I feel great where I don't need to, where I just feel, sometimes you just wake up and just feel like you want to conquer the world. But most days you won't feel that way, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that mindset of, hey, how can we figure it out? How can we be creative, right?
Yeah, and having that bag of skills and tools at the ready to say, okay, what are we going to try today?
And so some things I have, and you got to figure it out, right? And I'm sure having a psychology background, you know how to do that, whether it's meditation, all different type of things you can do. But that's probably the everyday issue that it's like a project that I'm trying to figure out.
Is lifelong, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
For me too, lifelong. But I love that about creativity. It's a lifelong journey we're all a part of and get to play and have fun and explore and learn and grow with it every single day. So
100%.
Awesome.
100%.
Well, I so appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. And I have one more question. It's the question I ask everyone. And I'm super excited for your answer. What is your secret to creativity?
What is my secret? Wow.
Yes.
My secret is probably everything that I just said, right? Is first finding why you do what you do and not just conforming to what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Once you figure out your why, right, you have to create and edit your life, create a plan around how you want to get to where you want to go and who you want to become, and then find people who are already there and see if they can help you. And then that's how you can become uniquely you. And like we said, it's a lifelong journey of trying to figure out who we want to become. Who we are, who we were a year ago shouldn't be who we are today. And who we are next year, we should be even better. But at the core, you should understand who you are and why you do the things you do. So that's the key. Find out the why, find out a plan, and find out somebody who's already there. And help
oh my gosh. It's amazing. I love it. I love that. The secret is find your why. That's amazing. That's incredible.
Yes.
I love it. Yay. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. And if people wanted to get in touch with you or learn more about you or your podcast, how would they go about doing that?
So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Josh Dillingham. We are actually revamping our website, but our website is plaininjuredpodcast.com. No, just plaininjured.com. Actually, we just changed the URL. And so you can listen to it there, but you can also listen to it on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you listen to podcasts. We'd love for you to take a listen to it and tell us if you like it, you don't like it. But Mari, seriously, this has been fun. Like I said before, you have an amazing podcast. It's high energy, and creativity isn't going anywhere. The question of what do you think, what does creativity mean to you, will never get old. So this is an amazing podcast, and I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you so much. It was such a treat to have you on and to speak with you. And people should definitely check out your podcast. I've listened to a few episodes, and it's interesting, and the people that you have on as guests are awesome. And I've learned a lot listening to their journeys and how they're navigating life. And so tune in and thank you again for joining us. Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so like us on Facebook and Instagram. We are Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and your family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your comments, reviews, and questions. Tune in Tuesdays for a new episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.